Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back into my channel. So in this lab, we're going to create an Azure Firewall. So first thing first, we're gonna create a resource group. Let's call it, sorry. Gonna create a resource group and call it test.wfirewall.rg. Put it on ECUS. So let's just review and create. Now we gotta create a VNet. Make sure you put it on this resource group that just created. Name that any name you'd like, so it make no difference. I can call this so I could call this test.fw.vn for VNet. Let's go here for IP address. We could leave this one as default. For subnet mask, I could name this AZ Firewall subnet. And I can modify the subnet just a little bit. Make this one and make this /26 instead of 24. And that. So it's a 10.0.1.0. Now, let's go ahead and create another subnet. Let's go here and add subnet. And let's name this workload dot SN for subnet. Let's give it an IP 10.0.2.0/24. Fix that. And now let's just add and let's review and create. Now the third step is to create a virtual machine. Oh, it's gonna be fine. Should be fine. Deployment Microsoft could not found code or whatever. It should be fine. Don't worry about that. Let's just go ahead and double check it to make sure we have it right there. If you go to VNet, so it's right there. See? Oh man. Since it's deploying, it might take some time, but let's just it's right there. Not sure why it says it's on ECUS, it's under my subscription. So let me go home and refresh. See all. Okay, let me go on resource group just to making sure. So I have a resource group, and let's go to home. Let's go to VNet. I have VNet also. Let's double check. Okay, so now let's go ahead and just erase this and recreate it again, maybe. Okay, so let's go erase and recreate. So all that may be into it. So that's all we need to do. So the VNet was not taking effect. So let's just select it. Let's go here. Okay. Oh man, so apologize for that, guys. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Refresh it again. So it's right there. So there was no reason to erase and recreate. All that was just to give it some time. So the VNet is right there. And let's go ahead and double check for the resource group. The resource group is also here also. And there's a VNet under this resource group. So it's right there. All right. So now let's go ahead and create a virtual machine in a server for our firewall. So which is the server that the firewall will be protect. In order for you to get to this server, you have to pass through the firewall instead of just coming straight to this firewall. So traffic. So basically the way it works is that, let me see if I can pull up on say Google, and let's see AZ firewall deployed. So okay, so now the website is learn.microsoft.com. Let's see if we can find that Azure. Instead of AZ, let's say Azure. Azure. Is this Google? Create AZ firewall. And see. Okay, so there we go. There's no need to do it with PowerShell. I wouldn't want to create this with PowerShell. So basically is what I'm explaining. So this is an urban spoke model. So you see how it says that for this article, you create a simplified sample VNet with 3 subnets for each deployment. So for production deployment, the hub and spoke model is recommended. Where the firewall is in its own VNet, the workload server can be in peer VNet in the same region with one or more subnets. So Azure Firewall subnet, the firewall is in the subnet. So the workload subnet, the workload server is in this subnet. So this subnet network traffic goes through the firewall. And you have to do an Azure Bastion subnet too as well. So the subnet used for Azure Bastion, which is used to connect to the workload server. So there we go, there go the internet, and every traffic that's coming, it have to go through the firewall, which is firewall subnet, which is the one that we created it. And so before they come to here, they have to pass through here, and they go the Bastion here too as well. So they go the internet, the icon here. So if you look here, you see all these articles. These are the steps on how to create this firewall. So it's not a simple thing. It's a step by step on how to create this. So let's go ahead and continue what we were doing. So let's put this on the same resource group as the firewall and the subnet. And we're gonna name this any name you'd like, but I will just name this SRV for server work. And I could put this on the same region as East US, and I could choose standard type for security. Now the image, I could choose this image, Windows Server 2019 data center. Now let's go ahead and give it a name. I can make this AZ user, and I can give it a password. and I can confirm it. All right. No, I don't want that. No, I don't need nothing. I don't need to change nothing on the disk part. Click next. Now on the virtual network part, I need to grab the VNet that I've created. So this should be, see if we can find it. So it's the region. So it's always a problem to find. Let's make this be ammonia, whatever. It's always a problem to find call this call. Let's see. Okay, now disk and now network. So we get the network. So we good. Now let's put this on workload. Gonna put on a different subnet. So the public IP, let's make sure that you change that into none since you're gonna use a firewall. So the NIC network security group. Okay, NIC network security group. NIC network security group. We can leave that as basic. Right. Now let's hit this. Let's review. Now when you get here, make sure you disable the diagnostic booth. Booth, I mean not booth. It's just review and create. Review it and we create. Just, I should have making sure that this is on ECOS because sometimes it's just acting up if you don't. You gotta make sure that you have everything. So it's on the same resource group with the VNet and the resource group. Okay, so gotta wait a little bit. Now, guys, by the way, let's just go over this and see different things that this article is saying here. So it says controlling outbound network access is an important part of an overall network security plan. For example, you may want to limit access to a website, or you may want to limit the outbound IP address and ports that can access. So one way only you can control outbound network access from an Azure subnet is in the Azure Firewall. So with the Azure Firewall configuration, you can configure application rule that define fully qualified domain name that can access from a subnet and network rule too. So these are the rules that you can set up for that. Go ahead, go back here. So it still says that the deployment is in progress. It might take some time before still deployment is in progress. So let's go ahead and continue this. See what are the articles that we can. So create a virtual machine, size, yep, more, slash 26, the public IP address for Azure Bastion host, create a Bastion host, create a virtual machine. So it's always good to visit Microsoft, learn, the learn.com, the learn Microsoft.com just to know your stuff. And if you want to, you could use PowerShell to make this what we're doing here. But so you gotta test your firewall here at the head of this. Okay, so it's not RDP, so it's Bastion. So now test the firewall to confirm that it works as expected. Connect to the server virtual machine using Bastion to sign in. Okay, it's not RDP, it's Bastion. Okay, so let's go ahead and just make this, and we would open up the browser for Google and just bang bang bang. Okay, so now let's check. So it's still employ. I mean, I'm not sure why it takes forever. I just want to double check to make sure that everything is done in order and decency. So it's on the ECUS. So let's go ahead and push on. Now, the third step is to create to deploy the firewall, right? So let's go ahead and just click on firewall here. Let's click hit create. Give it any name you'd like. I would just call this, go ahead and put it on the same resource group. Make sure we give it a name, whatever name that you'd like I said. So I could call this 001 and I can put it on East US. You could put it anywhere you'd like. Just make sure that you get them on the same region with your. So I would prefer make this firewall basic. Let's make it standard instead. So the firewall policy, rule classic. So let's go ahead and so for the firewall policy, see if we hit this. So the firewall policy, right? Let's just make this so az.fw dash policy, right? And let's put it on the east region and just say that. And now we can make sure that we put this on the test.fwn. Says this virtual network must have a subnet. Not sure what that is. But this should be PIP, which is public IP. Subnet, what are you talking about? This virtual network must have a subnet name, Azure Firewall Subnet. This virtual network must have a subnet name, Azure Firewall Network. Azure Firewall. This virtual network must have a subnet name, Azure Firewall Network. Of course it have that, isn't it? Let me double check to make sure. Let's go on the VNet. Let's go on subnet. Okay. Let's call this Azure Firewall Network. Also, it's not gonna allow this. Come on. Okay, so we should delete that and recreate it maybe if it's gonna allow us to. Let's go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and delete this. Yep. Let's create. Let's call it Azure subnet. Let's call this Azure Firewall subnet. We're gonna make this what? 10.0.10.0.1. Okay. Let's make this a 10.0.1.0 slash up 0 slash 26. Then save it. Let's double check. Okay, so it's Azure Firewall Subnet. Okay. Okay. So now let's go back to home. Let's pick a firewall. May have to take just a little bit of time before we can find the subnet. I'm not sure why. Okay. Why is the name is a big deal? Let's put it on the test that. Let's call this FW001. We could put this on East US. It's the region we live in. We could make this standard. Let's make this a classic. Yeah, let's make this classic. Use an existing one instead. And then, yep. Let's choose add. Let's call this PIP, which is public IP address. And now let's just go next. Now, we can just review and create. Just making sure that we have everything done in order and decency. East US, the region and everything. Okay, so let's just, okay guys. So now, now why is AZ firewall is important? And why do we need an Azure firewall? Well, an Azure Firewall Standard provides the Layer 3 and Layer 7 filtering and threat intelligence feeds directly from Microsoft cybersecurity. So threat intelligence based filtering can alert and deny traffic from to non-malicious IP addresses and domains that are updated in real time to protect against new and emerging attacks. So Now, why is Azure Firewall be needed, guys? Well, it's enabled turnkey firewall security capabilities in Azure Virtual Network to control and log access to apps and resources. So Azure Firewall supports filtering for both inbound and outbound traffic. So internal spoke-to-spoke connection and hybrid connection through Azure VPN and Express Route gateways. Now, you may wonder again, what does Azure Firewall protect? An Azure Firewall is a managed cloud-based network security service that protects your virtual network resources. It's a fully stateful firewall as a service with built-in high availability and unrestricted cloud capabilities. I mean, scalabilities too. Since this is still in deployment and we do need to have this done so we can continue the rest of the configuration, let's just go ahead and continue, like, asking questions and answer them as we hear. So now you may wonder what is all about an Azure firewall. With an Azure firewall, it decrypts outbound traffic, performs required security checks, and then encrypt the traffic to the destination. It works in conjunction with URL filtering and web categories by letting administrators allow or deny user access to website categories such as gambling or social media. Now, you may wonder again, what is the difference between Azure WAF, which is web access firewall, and Azure Firewall? Well, Azure WAF in Azure Application Gateway protects inbound traffic to the web workloads, and the Azure Firewall inspects inbound traffic to the other applications. So Azure Firewall will cover outbound flows from both workloads type. So if you would question again, where is the Azure Firewall used? So on the Azure portal menu, or from the home page, you could select resources type firewall in the search box and press the enter, and you'll be able to see everything. So let's go ahead and just hit go to resources here. And there we go. We have everything being done. Now let's continue with our configuration. Now in this step, we're going to create a default route. So when creating a route for outbound and inbound connectivity through the firewall, a default route to 0.0.0.0/0 with the virtual appliance private IP as the next hop is sufficient. So this will take care of any outbound and incoming connection to go through the firewall. As an example, if the firewall is, sorry, see if I can. So as an example, if they, just a second, double check to make sure. Okay, so it's fully. Now, as an example, guys, if the firewall is fulfilling a TCP handshake and responding to an incoming request, then the response is directed to the IP address who sent the traffic. This is by design. So as a result, there is no need to create an additional user-defined route to include the Azure Firewall subnet IP range. So let's go ahead and just go here and click on route. Just type in route table. Sorry for the typo. So it's route. What am I doing? I can't type today, right? So it's route. Uh-oh, what is wrong? So it should be route. Yep, so that go route table right there. So you just click on that and we're gonna hit create. You're gonna create the route table, right? And then we're gonna put this under the same subscription of everything. I mean, on the same resource group and subscription of everything else. So we got to make sure that this goes on the same region. It was US East, and we could give it, you could give it any name you'd like. I can call it Firewall Route. Let me call it Firewall Route. And now propagate gateway routes. This could leave as default and then just go ahead and review and create. Review and create. Now, as this is creating, let's just go ahead and see if we could make, oh, so it's good. So that was fast. Now, as this is created, so within this, we're going to, by the way, just give me a quick second here. Okay, so as this is created, now we could go to, we're going to resource group, and on the, so for the, on the firewall route page, we're going to click on subnet, subnet. Now we're going to create, and then we're going to select associate. Now from there, for the virtual network, we're gonna select test.fw and VN, right? And for subnet, it's going to be on this one. So we're gonna make sure that we have everything selected. Then we're gonna hit OK. Now we're going to route. We're gonna click add, and we're gonna give a route name of fw.dg. You could give it any name you'd like, it makes no difference. For address prefix destination, we could select IP address, and for the destination IP, for the destination IP address side range, we can type 0.0.0.0/0. And for the next hop, type, we can select virtual appliance. And for the next virtual appliance, so the Azure Firewall is actually a managed service, but virtual appliance works in this situation. So now for next hop address, we're going to type the private IP address for the firewall that we've noted previously. So the way to do that, okay, so let's go here. Let's go here and find out the IP address of this. Sorry, guys. So we got to find out the IP address of this, the private IP address of this firewall, right? That's what we've been asking to do. So let's go ahead and then see if we can find that. So it should take us right in. Let's open up another page for that. So let's go. Bang, bang, bang. So to find out, so now for the next hop address, we have to type in the private IP address of the firewall. So there go the firewall. We got to find out its IP address. So there go its private IP address. We can copy this. And then we make this big. We got to go here and we paste this. Now we click add. Now it's good. Now we gotta configure an application rule for the firewall. So on this, the application rule that allow the outbound access for www.google.com. So let's go on the resource group. You're gonna go home. You're gonna go with resource group, and within the resource group, we're gonna click on firewall. And within the firewall, we have to within the firewall here, you gotta find a way to get to see here, and then so that's not it. I tell you what, and this is why if you follow along with the okay, so then on there, the settings here, you gotta click on rules. So rules classic, and in here we gotta select the application rules collection. This one here. Now we gotta add an application rule. Now let's name this. You could give it a name you'd like, but I'll give it app dash FW as firewall 001. Now for priority, we would always have a priority of 200, not bigger and smaller than that. And for action, let's leave that as default as allow, and under the rule for this here FAQ, which is fully qualified domain name tags, we're gonna name this allow dash Google. We want this to allow Google. And now for the source type, we can select IP, which already been there for source. For source, so we could, for source, we could type this IP address. It's 10.0.0/24. This is the IP address of the subnet for the VNet on the virtual machine. And for the fully qualified domain tags, we can make this now for so the source is this IP, and for protocol port. Okay. So for this target, so for target, tell you what, this should be down here, not there. So this for target target FQ. So for target FQ DNS, this should be allow Google, right? And this should be IP address. And it's a mistake. I should just copy this IP address and paste it here, but it's 10.0.0/24. I don't 10.0.2.0/24, and the protocol should be HTTP and comma space and HTTPS. The one for port 80 and one for port 443. Now for target full qualified domain names, we could, just a second, guys. Okay, guys. So now for the, so this is for port, I mean, the protocol is this, and now for the target, for the target fully qualified domain names, you could make this be www.google.com, right? And we could add, and that should be it for this. Now the Azure Firewall includes a building with, a built-in rule collection for infrastructure fully qualified domain names that are allowed by default. These fully qualified domain names are specified for the platform and can be added, and it can be used for other purposes. Okay, guys? Now we're going to configure a network rule. So let's see, we're going to, okay, so now we're going to, for network rule, so we're gonna name this net dash call for collection 01. You could name it any name you'd like. It makes no difference as long as it works. That's not really matter. The name you give to it. Now on the rule, IP address we can name this. We could name this allow dash DNS. Oh, sorry. It should be as such. So DNS. And for protocol, we're gonna select UDP this time, and UDP, right? Now, for the source type, we're gonna select IP, and for the IP address, we can type 10.0.2.0/24. Now the destination type, guys, for the destination type, we're gonna select IP address as it's already there. And for the destination address, type, we have to type in 209.244.0.3. And the comma 209.244.0.4. Okay, now for the destination port, so these are public DNS servers operate by layer 3. For the destination port, we could just type in 53, which is the port number for the DNS. And now, all we got to do is just click add. Okay. So now we have to configure a DNAT rule. So these will allow you to connect a remote desktop to the server, the virtual machine, through the firewall. So we're going to click on NAT rule collection, which is this here. We're gonna click on add, and we're gonna give it a name of RDP, which is Remote Desktop Protocol. Give it a priority of 200. Now, under the rules for name, we can type in RDP NAT. Let's call it RDP-NAT. Now, for protocol, we could take this time TCP instead of UDP. And for source type, now for source type, it's already selected for us by default, the IP address. And for source, let's put this for any, which is the asterisk here. Now the destination, we have to type in the public IP address. Type in the firewall public IP address. So let's go ahead and pull up the firewall and find the public IP address of the firewall, right? So this is the private IP address of it. So where do we find the public IP address of this? Let's go to home and let's go to firewall. So here we should be able to see. So it's firewall public IP. You click here and there we go. There go the public IP address of the firewall. Now you make this big. Let's make it big. And you go back here, you just paste the public IP address of the firewall and bingo. Now, for the destination port, you have to type in the 3389, which is the which is the port number for remote desktop protocol. So the RDP. Scroll over a little bit. Now, guys, for destination, for translate address, I'm sorry. For translated address, we're going to type in SRV dash work and for the translated port, we can type in the port for the RDP. And now, so translated port, type in this. Should be able to, okay. So I think there's something here. And was it SRV? Not sure why it's doing this, but you should. Let's see what is wrong. So this translated address. Okay, so the translated address, we should type in the IP address, the private IP address of the server. So that's the mistake. I'm sorry. So just go grab it. Let's go ahead. And bang, bang, bang. So they'll go to server here. Now we should find the private IP address of this server, and we'll type it in. Okay, so we find this. Okay, tell you what, let's just go here. Let's go to virtual machine. And this, we click here. That's the public IP address. We need the private too as well. Let's make this big. Public, don't need that. No, we don't need this. Okay, so there go the private IP address. That's what we need. Let's go ahead and copy that. Now we go here. We paste this IP. And we hit add. Now, we have to change the primary and the secondary DNS addresses for the server network interface. So for testing purposes, guys, we have to configure the server primary and secondary DNS addresses. So this is a general Azure Firewall requirement. So now we gotta go to resource group. And from here, so under the network interface for okay, for the server, which is this, under the network, under the networking. So what do we do here? We gotta change virtual machine. We gotta go on the DNS server. Let's find the DNS server. We gotta find the DNS server, right? Sorry. So we gotta find the DNS server. So basically, so in the settings, gotta select the DNS server. So where's the DNS server here? Extension, configure, not the operation, but yeah, you gotta find the DNS server. So let's go down here and see if we can find it. Let's go ahead and refresh, making sure that we have a DNS name here, but gotta find the DNS server, right? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so let's just back out a little bit to making sure that we have, so there, and so here, oh, sorry. Say if this is yes. Say if we find the DNS server settings. Network flow. Okay, so let's go back here. Because basically what we're looking for is the DNS server. Okay, so it's on the network interface. I'm sorry, guys. So there go it right there. DNS server should be here. So there we go, DNS server. And now, apologize for that. So it's under the network interface. We got to find the DNS server. And under the DNS server, we have to select custom right there. And from there, guys, we have to type the IP address. So it's 219.244.0.3. And we got to press enter. Now, the other box here, we got to type the other address, which is 209.244.0, and this time that 4. Then, so we got to save this. And as we save this, we have to restart the server. So as this is saved, let's go ahead and restart the server, guys. So let's go here. Let's click on it. Oh, come on. Let's click here. Sorry. Now let's restart the server. So then after we're going to test the firewall. Okay, guys, so we just have a few other steps left and we will be done. So basically, all we gotta do is just so that's basically all that we gotta do. Gotta wait till this come up. So it's still in this restarting process. Okay, so as this is restarted, all we gotta do now is just checking the public IP address of the virtual machine so we can continue the rest of this. So the public IP, we don't really see it here. We gotta make sure that we grab that. Okay, so the machine is still restarted. We wanna make sure that we have this, we fully restart. So let me just go here now. See if I were to get back. So to remember which username that I give to this. So the machine is still restarted, right? Let me just back out and see if the machine, so it doesn't give you this, it's a sign that shows that it's still restarted. So we gotta grab the public IP address of this machine so we can continue this configuration. But the best way to do it, let me just not wasting time. Let me go on resource group. Where's the resource group? It's right there. And the pip here is the public IP address of this machine. So I will need this address. Go ahead and grab it. Now, let's go back out. Check this machine to show that this it's already I'm not sure if this already restored, but by the way, to avoid wasting time, let's just do a Windows R and let's just type in mst dot mst. What was the remote desktop shortcut? I think it was mst. Let's double check to make sure. Just pull up the remote desktop. It should be the public IP address for the firewall. So it's the public address of the firewall we need. So it's the remote desktop of the firewall that we need. It's the firewall, guys, the public IP address of the firewall, not the virtual machine. So there go the public IP of the firewall. So now we could do mstsc, which is a shortcut for the remote desktop protocol. We're gonna paste this and let's hit connect. What is this? It says remote desktop can connect to the remote for one of the remote zones. So remote access server is not enabled. So the remote computer is turned off. Yeah, so the computer is not on yet. That's probably why. Let's go back here to double check and make sure. Like I was saying, it takes time before this come on. And if it's not on, then we won't be able to connect. So it takes a while. So you see, this is still not showing, this is a sign that shows this is not up yet. So we gotta wait. I apologize for that. We gotta wait. So you gotta wait until the machine is come on. So we restart this machine. So that's why. And I apologize for that, guys. Okay, guys, so let's see here. So the machine is still running. It takes time. I'm not sure why it's not. So there's no start. So I might as well just cut this video and come back and finish the, what is it says that the virtual machine one status, virtual machine status is not ready, so troubleshoot. Yeah. So yeah, we gotta think what I gotta do is just test the firewall. So let me go ahead and just make this short and I'll do a last video to test the firewall here, guys. So just to avoid making this video too long. So let's just end this meeting and I'll do another video to show you how to test the firewall. So I'll see you in the next lab and lecture. I'll be showing you on how to test the firewall. Just a second.